Black Panther Wakanda Forever just premiered nationwide. The reviews are already in on Rotten Tomatoes. If you go by that, Rotten Tomatoes has it at 84%, while the audience has it at 94%. Which one will we side on? Is it worth the watch or a waste of time?
I got my Black Panther and Marvel shirt. I don't have no name on it.
So before we get into our review, guys, if you want to learn how to save money in gas, groceries, restaurants, check the description below. It's not a sponsor. We don't get any kickback from it. It's just our saying thanks for our viewers of watching and listening. Also, you want to be a superhero? Check the description below on how you can save a life or two. Spoilers. In the time of this recording, which is actually November 11th, the nationwide premiere of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, we just got news that part of our childhood has passed away due to cancer. The iconic voice of Batman from the animated series, from the Arkham series, Kevin Conroy, has passed away at the age of 66. That is quite a hard pill to swallow in multiple levels.
Yeah.
Especially in relation to this movie, Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
I mean,
So
cancer's taken, like, it's affected so many icons in this way. It's a harsh disease in a lot of different ways. And let's be honest, it's affected us in our own personal lives with family and whatnot.
right.
It's a very serious subject for a lot of different reasons. Just like you said, like, that's our childhood. Not Chadwick Boseman, but Kevin Conroy projects that you and I have discussed and referenced even here, where he's been a part of it. Just like how we've had that discussion where, can you picture anybody else's voice besides Mark Hamill, like instinctively? If you think the Joker, and like first voice that pops into your head, 9 times out of 10 is going to be Mark Hamill's. When you say Batman, the first voice that comes into your head, for people in our generation specifically, I can't argue for the new generation, but is Kevin Conroy's, and he is just so ingrained in there. There was like, and I remember arguments, not with you, but with other people, being like, people will argue literally who's the best Batman voice, and like, and people will be like, you can't replace Kevin Conroy, because they had like Peter Welling, and then they had other people play the voice. And it's funny because they'll like, essentially they'll adapt in a variation Conroy's voice.
I know this is mainly about Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but you can't just help but the two icons from both comic book franchises. And they both passed away with cancer. Now, granted, I'm not sure which cancer that Kevin Conroy died from, but cancer is cancer. It sucks regardless.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton will always be my Batman. Christopher Reeves will always be my Superman. Robert Downey will always be my Iron Man. Chris Evans will always be my Captain America. And Kevin Conroy will always be my Batman, the voice. And his voice is so recognizable. Like, we heard his voice in Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
And it was just like, even though he was Merman, I heard his voice, I'm thinking Batman in a fish suit.
Merbat.
But I just got to say thank you, Kevin Conroy. Even though you were introduced to me in my college years, and for you, Adan, was when you were 8, 6.
Yeah, I was like, I would say like elementary going. It was elementary going into middle school. Yeah,
and so voice will always, for me, be tied to a certain part of my life. So cheers to you, buddy, and thank you so much for what you've done. All right, so let's go back to the topic. So, like I said, Black Panther Wakanda Forever came out. I have to say I'm on a high from that, even though I got a little depressed with the recent news of Kevin Conroy.
Yep.
I left the theater, I don't know about you, but they fixed what I thought was wrong in the original.
I can see
they brought in, now granted, Black Panther, a beautiful film, but I saw many flaws in it. They honored Chadwick Boseman. In fact, this movie felt like a love letter to Chadwick Boseman. It felt like a love letter to his portrayal of Black Panther.
Yes. There's a lot of times where you have people that portray a character and then they leave, they pass away, and they get replaced instantly. And we didn't really comment that too much on Black Panther because he was still alive when Black Panther was produced and aired, and he died years later. Here, it's past, but the impact on his performance on that role, both surprising and so strong that it affected a lot of audiences that like the time when he did pass, no one wanted to see anybody else play his role, which led into what you were talking about, like how this movie was supposed to be a different project. It was supposed to be changed, done differently. There were and we'll talk about that later. Like there were supposed to be scenes that were supposed to be in this movie that got cut specifically because they didn't want to take away what this movie was doing because of the loss of Chadwick Boseman as a
Right.
performer and as being the Black Panther himself, which is unique into itself because Disney's notorious for we can still bring them back and like with their CGI. Yeah.
True. Well, it was more for Star Wars. I don't know if I don't remember if they did it with any Marvel project, but I know they definitely did it with Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, what I liked here that it kept in ties with the comic books in a sense, who takes the mantle.
True.
Right. I mean, I kind of knew that was going to happen. It made sense to me. I know other people, like you said, some people didn't want to change the actor. They were saying, let's bring back Michael B. Jordan and make him the Black Panther. I was like, but why? Then his death in the Black Panther, then it would have been cheap. It would have been like a waste.
Mm-hmm.
And I granted, in the comic books, no one truly dies. That's which I find a problem with. I mean,
it's a huge flaw in the comics.
Yeah, it's like, how has someone been around for 50 years still 30? You know what I'm saying? It's like same character. They don't change. They don't give the mantle. Some character they do, be it DC or Marvel, but others they just, oh, he died. No, we'll find a way to bring it back. Oh, it was a time warp. It was blah, blah. He was in the one dimension. I was like, stop that. Let the person die. Let someone else take the mantle. Let someone find their purpose. Let them have their flaws. Let them make their mistakes, and then they grow from that. And this is what we see here with Shuri taking the mantle. We see her flaws. We see her struggle. And this is what was missing in the first Black Panther. We didn't see that where Heavy wears the crown, where T'Challa doesn't have that burden.
Yeah.
She does. She does have that burden. You can see it. You see her mourning. In the first movie, we don't see T'Challa really mourning. We just see like, oh, my father died. I will get revenge. And I understand that, and it makes sense. And from the Civil War movie, but in Black Panther, we don't really. It's a glimpse. It's a little like when he goes and gets the herb and he sees his father again.
Yeah.
But here we see multiple aspects. We see the mourning. I mean, Shuri represented us. That's what it felt like. We were feeling and seeing through her eyes. The mourning she felt through, the pain she was feeling, it was the same pain that we felt when we heard of his passing.
Mm-hmm.
And I do appreciate how they handle story-wise of his passing. It was very similar to his real life, that he got a disease or a virus that he kept to himself.
Yeah, but he did tie it very
at the last moment, right? And then, like last moment, he let them know what's happening, and then sure, it was too late to find a cure, which was him. Like he kept his situation very, very private, regardless of the ridicules he got on social media, things of that nature. Like when I saw him paper thin, I thought it was for a movie.
Yeah,
because some actors do that. You know, they get thin or they get big, what have you. But the ridicule was like endless on social media, and he just kept it quiet. He went on press tours. He still filmed. He did like he was diagnosed with cancer, I believe, during Civil War.
Yeah, I want to say it was around that time.
And he kept going. He kept doing the movies. He kept doing
press junkets, all those stuff. But he went
all this stuff and other movies too. Like yeah, he kept it going. Still kept training, all that stuff. You know, in Black Panther, he was jacked. Thin, but he was shredded and jacked. So that's why I appreciate this, where he died due to an illness, a virus, a cancer. They didn't really call it a cancer, but
for all intents and purposes, it was.
And right, and you see that the mother's taken over, like that. And I just appreciate that everyone grieves differently. Everyone grieves, has their timetable of when to let go, when to move on. We see that with Shuri.
Yeah.
Granted, her father died, her mother died, but it was just like that bond she had with her brother. And so I totally applaud them for doing that and showing that, like letting Shuri be us.
Mm-hmm.
She lost her father, she lost her brother. Then a year later, she loses her mother, and it was like,
mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
That's a lot for one person to take.
she was blipped with him, if I remember correctly, right?
It was on the screen, right, that one time. But I'm just saying, it's a lot for one person,
But that's what I'm saying. Like
regardless.
if she was
And
blipped for with
mhm,
him, she would that just shortens the amount of time of people that she's lost. Like, you know, some characters
okay,
had like
gotcha.
a
Right,
larger gap. She's like has a shorter gap. So for her it's like boom, 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 one after the other. And theoretically it is. Like
right.
she loses her brother, it's been a couple years, she loses her mother, and like who else is she
And
gonna
her
lose?
father too. Like
You could
then
argue like
another.
in a 5 year span, for her perspective, 5 year span, she lost her father, her brother, her mother.
But wouldn't it be really 5 years though?
And her, I'm saying her
If she got
perspective.
if she got blipped, it's not 5 years.
I said in under a 5 year span.
Oh, sorry. All right, we can
It would be
argue this like
technically
all the
longer if she wasn't blipped. But either way,
yeah.
we're getting
Okay,
on a tangent on that.
I find this far superior than the first one.
It's definitely a step up.
Yes, considering also that the amount of action here, the action in this is very little. I mean, there's about 4 action scenes here, so this is more story based than action based. Marvel is usually action based, so they took a step back here and really drive in the story. I guess it's to allow us to have the mourning phase, let us mourn. The scene where the mother was like burning the white clothing and she wasn't ready, we weren't ready.
Yeah.
What I also liked about here, this film, is that they gave more time for the side. Yes, you have a lot of returning characters, you have some not, but like the consul, the peers, they had more dialogue in here.
Mm-hmm.
You have a bigger role for Mbaku. He was a great scene stealer whenever he was in it. Okoye was awesome. Then you have the other girls from the
The
thank you.
Dora Milaje.
You have those 2 characters who
No,
you can say it for me every time. I don't mind.
no,
Oh, you're having trouble too?
no.
I like the two were lovers. I was a little
Yes.
surprised at the end. I was like, okay, all right, cool.
I mean,
I'm all right with that. Is that like it wasn't like throwing down on our face. It just boom, boom, and they moved on. That's what I liked about here. It's like they told you moved on. It wasn't like harping so much. The mourning part of the death of T'Challa, okay, yes, that was long, but it was needed.
mm-hmm.
I love Namor. I love his character. Now, if I'm going to compare it to another anti-hero from the DCU, which has now become the DCU, is no longer DCEU,
Mm-hmm.
this portrayal of an anti-hero far superior than what we had of Black Adam.
I will agree. Because his portrayal of how Namor is how I envisioned how Black Adam was. Because in comparison, right, setting aside power sets, personality aspects, very similar in the comics. And like Black Adam was that guy, like, I will burn the world for my people. No matter how small the offense, if you kill one of mine, I am taking your country in response to one of mine. That kind of personality. That was Namor here. He's like, they came close, so I killed entire ship liner of people just to make sure no one can find them. And I want and I will burn your country if you don't give me this one scientist. That kind of thing.
Exactly. He is ruthless. That's the thing. Like, that's an anti-hero. He'll do whatever he needs to do to protect his people or his purpose.
Yes.
Black Adam was not like that at all. It was just like, I kill. No, yeah, but you're killing to protect one kid, whatever. It's not like, and you're not killing innocent people. You're killing the bad guys. That's not really an anti-hero. Namor will kill anyone that interferes, whatever. If he has to get to that person, and so be it, as kids and children just chilling and they're in the way,
he would do it.
Doesn't matter. And you felt that, you believe that. And I love that they didn't tie it to the DC comparison where it's a king of a land, where she was a king, he was leader, but it wasn't Atlantis. It was another area. Like, and I'm sorry for it, I can't remember the name.
It was in the Atlantic, but it's like Tolokan or something like that. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing it.
Right. But no, what I'm saying is like the theme was very Aztec.
Yeah.
Love it. Instead of a trident, it was a regular spear, but made out of vibranium. But the way he said his name, it made total sense. It made total sense because they call him Namor, but he did it with a Spanish accent, Namor. And I was like, wow, no love. It just made that character like, oh yeah, like it took it to 11 because what he has no love for anyone that portrays his people. He has no love for the people of the dry land, that's for sure.
Well, that's what he
He
says.
has
He says specifically because I have no love for the people of the surface.
and hence Namor. And it gave me goosebumps. I was watching it. I love that they added Namora into this movie.
True.
Now, if it's the cousins or girlfriend, wife, partner, I'm not sure. They didn't make that clear to me. I didn't remember catching that.
I mean, it was kind of hard because everyone he calls is like my child, which I get.
Right.
It's like a kind of it's twofold. One, it's a status thing because he's
Mm-hmm.
king. So for him, they're all his children, relatively.
Right.
And then two is an age thing. He is
Right.
the oldest of his kind and arguably the
And
first. And
mutant.
Full
The
out
first
mutant.
mutant.
He called himself a mutant.
Yeah, exactly. And in Ms. Marvel was the first one to really use the word mutant.
Yeah.
But since he's so old, he is the first mutant.
I mean, it could come out like later on, like another character could show up, like Apocalypse or something like that. But that's a long ass time.
Yes, but in according to or an alliance to the MCU, he's the first one
as of right now.
So yeah, he was great. I mean, I don't know how much more I can say. And the aesthetics, the thought of it, in the sense of how since he can breathe air and through water, but his followers, his people can't. So they have that mask on with the water in to catch. I was like, that is smart. That is genius. And that their skin varies too. When they're in water, they're very human, but when the air hits their skin, they're blue.
I figured that out there's a logical reason for that because like it's to symbolize like they're oxygen deprived. So even though they're breathing through the mask, they're not getting the appropriate amount of oxygen to properly function and whatnot. So they're at least that's how I interpret it because like you can say like hold your breath until you're blue in the face and stuff like that. It's like
okay.
It's like, yeah.
All right. So all right, I get that. I thought it was red in the face. The blue in the face? Okay.
Or something like that. But your blood actually changes color too. Like if it hits air, it changes color from when your blood naturally is like a bluish color inside you until it hits oxygen in the air, turns red. So like I was thinking of something like that.
That makes sense. For me, aesthetic wise, I thought it was just cool.
It's still cool. It's still absolutely cool.
I just liked it. Cool. And then it helped Namor stand out more because he's different. And the origin story was really cool too, because the herb, I think it's the same herb. Am I wrong?
A different herb, but it's the same concept. It grew from soil that was enriched by vibranium, and his tribe prayed to their version of their god, which pointed them to there, where the Wakandan tribe prayed to their god, which was Bast. So they had like a panther god which was Bast, and then they had, I want to say like a jaguar god or something like that.
Who did?
Namor's people. That pointed them to it. It was very brief, so I could be wrong.
Also, here you have another version of a civil war.
Yeah.
So you have the Captain America Civil War, which is not really. Then you have Black Panther, which really had a civil war with several tribes. And then you have a civil war here.
I wouldn't call this a civil war. I would call it more of kind of like not a revolution. It's a full-on war. It's a full-on war.
Yeah, but it's a civil war. You have two people or two groups relatively of the same, meaning that they share the same thing of vibranium, the effect of vibranium that happened to their people. And then they're fighting, one to keep a hush, one to share with the world or let the world know about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So and they're fighting that. Like, if you don't keep this quiet, I'm taking the world down with you in it. And the other countries like, no, we have to share, let them know. We have to be open with the world. And they talk about that too, in a sense, like the UN trying to say we need it, and like, no, because you guys are flawed and you'll use it for the wrong purposes. That led to the first major fight scene or battle in the research center.
True. By the I think it
Yeah,
was French military.
which was a great scene. It was like really good scene,
Yeah.
and I thought the Black Panther was going to come out from there, from the shadows.
It looked
I
like
was
that for a
hoping,
moment. It did.
right? It did, right? With the dealing with Shuri, where has so much hate and anger because she's still mourning with the loss of her brother. Well, I don't know if she has hate, but I think she deals with guilt.
Well,
She deals with
that's
guilt.
one of the processes of grieving. There's this
No, of course.
there's going to be a stage that is just hate. It's a natural stage. It's you're going to have anger and resentment, grief,
Mm-hmm.
all those other stuff. But she was getting stuck at in between those stages, and she was having a hard time processing. I
Go
mean,
ahead. I
let's put it
mean,
this way: at the very, very beginning, when we talked about how, like, they talked about the disease, like she was one of the forerunners trying to cure the disease, and they open up with
mm-hmm,
the dialogue of her praying to Bast, and it's like one of
mm-hmm.
those moments, like in those movies, like you say, "I pray to you," da da da. Please, if you do this one thing, I will make it right. I will do whatever I need to answer to you. That the bargaining stage.
Well, real quick, that also is like kind of like a very interesting because a lot of scientists are atheists.
True.
There's science disproves the belief of religion or if there is gods or not. So you see that even though she's a scientist, she prays to the God to help.
Well, she only did that at one time, and you never see her again.
No, I understand, but what I'm saying, for the most part, like for your last ditch effort, you try to use all the resources you can to save the one you love.
I mean, like, even on the scene where she finally creates the herb and redoes the ceremony, and she
Mm-hmm.
thinks she fails. She like, if you pay attention to the words that she uses, she's like, "I did your ceremony. I did the things that you did,
Right.
and I
Right.
still didn't get to see my family." And like,
Mm-hmm.
she was never bought in,
Mm-hmm.
even though she was recreating the process and doing this step. She was never bought in.
Right, but I'm saying she has the guilt of not able to save because she has all the technology and all the stuff to do it,
Yeah.
but she couldn't do it. But I have to say though, that plant is similar, right? Do we agree or disagree that the plant is similar?
No, we agree it's similar. We just said it's not the same. It's similar properties. It's like, say it's like its plant cousin. Like you have different types of
But
mushrooms.
okay,
They're both mushrooms.
but here's the thing: he gave her that bracelet, right?
Yeah,
And that bracelet is made out of that plant,
yeah.
and then she used that plant to get her powers.
No, she
But she didn't. She
augmented it.
didn't. I'm saying she used that. How much did she augment it? She grinded it out, put it in a thing, and I guess well, I guess
She
she used
analyzed it like that. She used
she
it like
rearranged the DNA,
yeah,
whatever
because
the
she was
beginning
already
of
like
it,
20 something percent done at the
right? Like
beginning of the movie.
26, like
Yeah,
26%, right? So yeah, so she made that, and then she gets to take the thing, but she didn't turn purple.
no,
I shouldn't have said that.
she, she didn't turn blue.
Well, I let's be fair. Well, she'll turn purple because her skin tone is black.
Oh Jesus.
I'm sorry. I'm
Anyways,
sorry. I'm sorry. Don't please. I'm sorry.
she could have gone
So
full blue. It would have been like a
we
navy
could have
blue,
been.
but it's worse.
So
Uh, so anyways,
so let's move on.
moving on from that. No, but realistically, let's talk about that for a quick second. Actually, there was a point I wanted to talk about because I've heard some people online say, like, they argue the fact that the Atlanteans would say we're superior, we're better, we're da 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 da, and then they're like, well, Wakandas have like the best technology, and they're like, you only see like one or two ships, but like, damn it, if they don't have an army of ships, they're like pretty sure Wakandans would still win in a war with Atlanteans. And I'm like, not necessarily. The Atlanteans is like two things. One, it's like that scene in 300 where the army meets the of the Spartans meets the other armies of Greece, and they ask him, was like, how many did you bring? It was like 300. And he's like, oh, I would expect more. You didn't bring as many soldiers. And then he goes like, and he calls them out and he goes, Spartans. And they'll go, whoa. He's like, I brought more soldiers than you. That kind of scene. That's the Atlanteans in my mind. They have more soldiers. The other part is, naturally speaking, he has an army of super soldiers.
100%.
So
100%.
their technology, they do have technology. They have like natural born technologies that definitely would do damage to your average Freightliners and stuff like that. And clearly it does damage to the Wakandan technology. They're armed by vibranium, a huge source of weapons for vibranium, putting them on par. And they're freaking super soldiers. And somehow they have some kind of siren technology where they can, or skill where they can hypnotize people into committing suicide.
Which I thought was great because it ties in with that mermaid shit.
It does, but it's crazy that I'm like, that's new, but like that's insane.
Well, it's new to us because we never thought about that, and it makes total sense in the sense of like all those legends and stories and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the siren story, like that's
they tied it in.
Starts and I'm thinking like one goes into multiple, yeah.
But I'm thinking like, no, but it goes back into those stories, those ancient Greece stories.
Yeah,
I just love that. I was like how they made like not I won't say historic facts, but tales of the past they brought in here into the current day. But the thing is, like, let's be real here. Let's be honest. Wakanda was going to lose as a nation versus a nation. They were going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for Shuri making him yield.
Look at it this way. M'Baku called it. He's like, he is a god to them. He is not a king. He is a god. You kill the god, that doesn't necessarily take the fight out of them. You martyr him, and now they have a purpose to die fighting, killing you.
Right.
And secondly, and this is the part that no one ever addressed, they knew about Wakanda before everybody else knew about Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
He was clear and like they knew how to infiltrate. They knew about the kingdom. They knew about the resources. They knew about everything. Wakanda was not in the know. So if you're going into a battle, you're going into a war, and your opponent knows more than you, the likelihood your opponent has the advantage.
Well, hello, he infiltrated them
multiple times
with no breaking the alarms or sounding the alarms, nothing.
Exactly.
And he knew where they were, fire camp, whatever. He heard them underwater. You were able to hear the conversation.
The flooding of the kingdom of Wakanda, that's referenced in twofold in the comics. One time he had the power of the Phoenix Force, but there was also another time in the comics where like there was like 10 criminals or military guys that they killed a couple of Atlanteans. And he's like, I want these people. And they're like, no, they're prisoners of the surface. We'll judge them. He's like, okay. And in their jail cell, I forget how he does it, but he floods their jail cell from the toilet and drowns the men in their own jail cell. The reason I say that is because when those buildings exploded with water, you don't see where that water's coming from, but it's clear to me that they had aqueduct system and piping system. So they have some kind of manipulation over water. Don't know if it's technology, magic, or whatever, but they do have that ability. It's clear in multiple scenes. And that's insane.
Now, we can talk about this till, excuse me for saying blue in the face. But it is so clear that this movie was worked on tirelessly. Granted, it had to be rewritten because I believe the original title was The Two Kings. Regardless, Namor was going to be in it. And there's going to be a battle with him and T'Challa. There are so many callbacks to the original.
True.
Yes. But there are also some great surprises. Tell me, or who did you think when she went under, when she took the herbs? Because this shocked the whole audience in the theater.
Yeah,
it shocked us, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Did you think it was the mother?
Well, that would have been the clear thought to go for the mother. Later on, they kind of did, and I think maybe they shot both scenes and they couldn't decide on either, and they decided to do both, but in two different areas. But it made so much. Or we get introduced to the god Bast. Okay, so when she first was going under, personally, I was thinking she might get introduced to the god Bast because we had Moon Knight and like they introduced gods, the Egyptian gods.
Okay.
And so the concept of the Egyptian god Bast actually approaching her would be in place of her brother. I was like, that would make sense because technically the queen never took the heart-shaped herb, so it would have made no sense to me. But then the same went with Killmonger. He saw his father, so.
But what I'm saying is that the mother was trying to always push for Shuri to take the mantle, to go back into the research of getting the herb,
not to take the mantle, but to recreate the herb. But yeah, I get it.
No, she wanted her to be the Black Panther. She's like, no, right? I believe that's it. That she wanted to be the Black Panther, not to take the throne, but to be the hero.
I took it that she wanted the herb to continue for the people. Either way,
Oh,
I did not anticipate. I knew that the people talked about it, but I didn't anticipate Killmonger and the his dialogue and the way that he was.
yes, please tell me you think, yes, same thing, that the way he portrayed him here was the way he should have portrayed him in the freaking original movie.
Well, you like you said, that was kind of him at the end, but still, it was his embodiment of the character. Still is great.
But the voice, he seemed more seasoned here.
A
He
little bit.
seemed like his voice was a little groggy. Like my problem with the original is that he seemed unseasoned, even though his character is, the portrayal of it was not. His voice was young, it didn't seem like he saw war. But in this, where this flashback or dreamland, his voice was his body position, his body movement, everything just seemed like, yes, what I'm seeing here in those 5 minutes is what I wanted in the original.
For his portrayal.
But here's a question I have for you.
Yeah.
In the afterlife, does your hair grow longer?
I mean, it's a spiritual thing, so
Because his hair was long as hell.
yeah, but like in the afterlife, every scene that you see, all the people in the afterlife, their clothes are different, da da da. So theoretically, yeah, and, like your astral project. Great example. X-Men. Professor Xavier goes into the astral plane, or and his look and his style is completely different. And same thing with Doctor. Like, I don't know. I'm grasping at straws. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never passed away and came back to life. I never had a near death
Doctor
experience.
Strange in Astral Plane. Doctor Strange in Astral Plane is the same thing. He doesn't change his looks. Now Professor X can change because he can change your mind. He can add stuff in just to make you see what you want to see. I'm just saying, it's just.
I mean,
in
Black Panther 1, when he's in the ice and they bury him, it's not like he came in with just his shorts in. He was in the astral plane with a white suit. I'm just saying.
I'm just talking about the hair. I understand the clothing. I'm talking about the hair.
I feel like it's harder to do the hair. No, it's harder to do the clothes.
I'm just whatever. I guess
that's the one hang up you had.
Well, no, meaning that you're going to see the person who you're going to see.
Yeah, whether you want to or not.
But you see the person how you remember him or her. He didn't have long hair when they met, in that sense, because he had hair down the side, down the back. Like for T'Challa and the Black Panther, he saw his father in African garb. When Killmonger saw his father, he didn't see his father older or dressed in African garb. He saw his father in street clothes.
True.
In the house or the apartment they grew up in. That's actually, from everything else, that's the only gripe I have was that hair length, the detail, stuff like that. That's minor. That's like a throwaway.
He did look good.
It was great to see him. It took me off guard, and I was like, and it made sense.
The way he was sitting on the throne too.
I mean, everything. It was just because that's how he was. That's his body mannerism was like that. But the voice, the portrayal was a lot better, in my opinion. But it made sense why she saw him, because she's so angry, and that's how he felt. Yeah. He hated the world, and she was hating the world. And it made sense. It also made sense of how she came back, because she had the hate like him, but she had the sense and the upbringing of her mother, her father, and T'Challa.
He made some great points.
He did.
He's like, your father. He's like, your father's a hypocrite. He would have done the same exact thing like Namor, killed the scientist as soon as he found out. He's like, your brother, he's a noble man. That's it. He's just too noble. And there's me.
Here's the thing:
who gets stuff done. I was like, oh,
right. But to me, it was a great callback before she killed, or she could have killed Namor but didn't. It was a great callback to Civil War.
Yeah.
Because T'Challa found out who was the real person behind the killing of his father. Instead of taking a life for a life, he made him face justice. Where here, she made Namor yield. Now, granted, Namor has a purpose. He saw the bigger picture. It was for him, we have lost the battle, but we are going to win the war.
And he calls it, he's like, to the outside world, they still don't know about us. To them,
right, exactly,
it's all Wakanda. we've gained an ally. We've lost this battle, but we gained an ally because the world's going to
Mhm.
turn on them. And when they turn on them, they'll turn back to us. And that's what we will do.
Yes.
I'm like, that's
Right.
cold. I'm like, wow.
Exactly. He was very strategic. He again, he lived for thousands of years, so he knows a thing or 2
Mhm.
and it says how to
But that's how he is in the
where to
comics too. He's like,
no, exactly. He's
you
like
can't
you
trust
sacrifice some
Namor.
pawns. No,
Without question, you can't
can't.
trust him. Like, and he's betrayed Wakanda multiple times in the comics, out for
Mhm.
the least amount of things, like out of pettiness too. So yeah, he is definitely a guy you can't trust unless you're Atlantean and you rule and you were one of his people. Yeah, like you're screwed. What was a scene you did not like? Let me ask that. Or they could have trimmed down
Riri.
the stuff with Riri that could have easily been trimmed down,
I
especially
do
with Ross. You know, I love the introduction of Val and Ross, and that she was his ex-wife.
Oh my God, yes.
That was a
Did
huge
not
twist for
expect
me,
that. Did not
which
expect that.
that actually ties into what you were thinking about with the Thunderbolts. And because we were talking about that in another video, and we were talking about the
Oh,
Thunderbolts.
because Ross is related to Ross.
Yes, yes.
like yes, because in the comics, Thunderbolt Ross is like an uncle to this Ross, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. And Thunderbolt
And
Ross started the Thunderbolts, but
well, yeah, that part. And then she's part of that program,
yeah,
or she becomes part of it. And I was just wondering because like Kimberly was like, "What about that purple hair?" I was like, "She always had that,
yeah, that's just a
that purple
style
streaks."
choice.
But no, what it is that Val had her hair down. I think like when she's like badass Valerie, like get work done, Valerie, her hair's in a bun.
I thought it was in a
And when
ponytail.
she ponytail bun, what have you. But the
Yeah,
thing is like it's up. When she's like her disguise is the hair down.
yeah.
Because the way she was acting here was not what we saw in previous projects, not in the Black Widow, not in Falcon and Winter
It
Soldier.
makes more sense now that we know that she's the ex-wife of this guy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because
because
she's
the thing is,
relaxed.
right. But here's the thing: is like, how did she add a bugging device to that beads when she got there later? I mean, I guess her men did
Mm-hmm.
because she didn't do it.
Yeah,
So I guess her men did that. It's like, yeah, plant that there, so because she knows that there's a history between him and the Wakandans.
clearly there's not
Oh
trust based on an ex relationship.
no, or something like again, he doesn't know everything. He's in the dark, just like how he was in the comics. That character was always in the dark, and when it came with certain things or a lot of things. But
Yeah,
I love that they brought her in and gave more of a backstory about her,
yeah.
even though it's not the past, it's kind of present. Here is kind of present. But does that mean during Black Panther time were they still married or were they divorced back then?
Oh, I mean, I didn't look at his hands. Maybe he had a wedding band on. I don't know.
I don't remember.
I mean,
But
it
I
could have
don't think
been before either too. I mean, there was a lot of time in between. But I mean, the college campus scenes, that could have been trimmed. It was funny. The little dynamic. She's like, he's like, I don't think you blend in. I'm like, what? Is it the makeup?
yeah.
And then she calls her ashy. He's like, it is the makeup. You should have told me. I did
Well,
laugh,
she was
but
with her and Mbaku, they were like the comic relief
yes,
of the show, of the movie. Now,
Bambaku
granted,
stole
is
the
it great?
scene.
Is it oh my god, he's totally granted that this is a introduction to her into her own series because she's coming out with her own series.
Yes.
And I hope they go deeper because I believe that Tony Stark was a idol of hers.
Mm-hmm.
And she made everything like the suit was like the first suit we see, the Mach 1, is pretty much reminiscent to his Mach 1.
Yeah, you hear the one military guy. He goes, "Oh shit, she got her own Iron Man suit."
I'm not sure if I'm excited to see her own story though. I'll watch it.
I was never an
I'm not sure.
Ironheart fan in the comics. There was other New Avengers that I was more into.
I do have one other like nitpick is the helmet. You know, I have a problem from the original Black Panther where the helmet came off and on, and off and on, off and on. Here they didn't do that so much,
Yeah, it was a lot less.
and I was a lot less, and I appreciate it. It kept on. It came up. They did more with that with Okoye, her helmet came off and on a lot. I was
Yeah.
like, ugh, for her to talk. Where here she got the, and it looked like it was solid, like it was a real helmet,
Yeah.
not CGI'd. Really like that it kept it more in a sense to how it was in Civil War.
Well, here's the thing. Like the thing I liked is, yeah, you had a lot of CGIs, but you didn't have like the cliche. I say it's cliche because it's now like 20 some movies in, climactic battle at the end where it's just a huge CGI fest of action. Here, yeah, it's a
Yes,
war
yes.
battle scene going back and forth, but it felt
Mm-hmm.
closer, tighter, and I loved it. The battle between him
Mm-hmm.
and Namor and Shuri personally was better than the battle between on Shang-Chi. Like they were doing hand to
It
hand
was,
fighting, and
no.
oh god, when she ripped off his fin
Oh my God, yes.
and then
I was like, smart.
he's still going into her, and he's like hammering her into the wall with it. Like he elbowed her one time, like this, like did a flash
Yes.
elbow, and I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
and then the spear through the gut. I was like, that was
Yeah,
an intense final battle scene for me.
I totally agree. My only gripe with that, wait a minute, that's through the spine.
I don't think it hit the spine. Like, I mean, the spine is only
It,
like this
it,
much. Like it looked
right,
pretty good
but
there.
it looked centered. It looked center mass. So yeah, if it was a little more to the side, I could believe it.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe she has technology, or she developed technology to help keep the spinal cord connected. You know, all the stuff.
I mean, you could argue the suit itself could do that. Like technically, like if
Maybe.
there's a comic book like where Iron Man has a broken neck, but as long as he doesn't
Mm,
de-armor himself,
right.
it keeps his
Mm-hmm.
neck in line,
Aligned.
and he just
Right.
locks it, and he can still do everything else.
But no, it was still good. I was just like, huh?
Oh, when she
Okay.
burned
I
him
mean,
too.
I'll take. Dude, it was hot. It was. I mean, come on. It was. I mean, granted, it was. You're kind of lucky to be in the right position.
She did flip right in front of him,
This is what I liked about that, because people are like, some people laughed on that. But why? I said, why you laugh? It's like she went for a kill strike, and she missed.
though. Hmm.
She didn't just jump to flip and just for that. She went to strike, but he ducked and then landed. And then she just stopped him because he was going for the water.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how I saw. I mean, maybe she didn't strike. To me, it looked like a kill, yeah, it looked like a kill strike.
it could be for
Uh,
both purposes, really.
maybe, but it was just, or that like he didn't know, like he dropped because he's dehydrated, he's weak,
Hmm.
and just the timing was there. That yeah, I don't think he knew that she was about to strike. I think he just went limp for a moment.
Yep.
But yeah, the Wakanda Forever thing, I was like, yes. And it was like all planned. I like it. They had a contingency plan. They like, okay, if this happens to here, plan B, go,
Go to the
boom.
desert.
And then
Yeah.
out of the recent Marvel films, MCU films, because I can't remember them all now. You had the Shang-Chi, you have Spider-Man No Way Home, which was the epilogue. You have Black Widow, you have Eternals. You
Yeah.
have, who else was there? What other movie was there? I can't remember right now.
There was a lot of shows.
Oh, Thor, Love and Thunder.
For
You
the
have
Thunder.
this to me, I'm calling it right now. Besides No Way Home, this is the best MCU. I don't know if this is phase
In a long
800
run.
or whatever. Right. Well, since I can't remember right now, we're probably missing another MCU film that came
They have
out.
too many too off the top of the head. But I would say this. Okay, so the other two top scenes for me, I love the fight scene on the bridge. The car
Mm-hmm.
chase, it was okay with the car chase, but the fight scene on the bridge between I'm going to call them Atlanteans for now because I can't remember their names. But the Atlanteans and Okoye, I like that scene because of the fact of like that shows the real threat of the Atlanteans. Granted, you get the threat from the very beginning, but the like she says like I stabbed them and killed them in ways they should have been dead, and they just got up.
Right.
You know, it shows that these guys aren't easy.
Right.
And
Well,
then
yeah, but they didn't answer like how could they still live? Like that didn't make no sense to me either, though.
I mean, I just assume their physiology is
They're not immortal.
they're not immortal, no, but they're like super soldiers. So like the guy Captain America can take damage more than the average person. So like if she does a death blow to the average person, yeah,
Mm.
that'll take them out, but they may be able
Yeah,
to.
But they were also like Wolverine and Deadpool in the sense they healed.
I mean, Captain
So it's just
America can heal faster than the average person too.
yeah, but
But
you still
either
bruised for a
way,
couple of days.
yeah. I mean,
I
they'll
mean, I don't
still
think,
probably need some stitches, but
but
the first. I'm gonna die. All right, I'm living. But the first attack on Wakanda, that was my second favorite battle scene because that was you see how everybody's overpowered. You see Namor going to town on the Wakandans. Like he literally could have just been by himself. That's how
right.
much of a threat he posed. And then it led into the death of the queen. And that was a powerful scene.
I do agree with you. I like the Okoye and
Atuma.
Atuma. He was toying with her, and as badass as she is, there's always someone bigger. There's always someone stronger.
Yep.
There's always someone more skilled. Now let's go. Let's talk about end credit, mid credit scene, whatever you want to call it, because there's only one.
Yeah, that's true. There's only one mid credit scene. There was talks that there were supposed to be 2 credit scenes, and
But
they scrubbed it because the second scene would have took away from the movie and this scene.
right. Let's just say that it was perfectly done.
Yeah.
It made sense. I just love the fact that T'Challa still lives on.
Technically, that character is in the comics, not in the mainline comics. There's a Elseworld where T'Challa does have a son.
In the comics, Nakia, his love interest, actually becomes one of his biggest enemies.
Yeah, but in the comics where he has a son is with Storm, and that son is a mutant. You would know it more familiar for you was remember the Avengers animated movie, the Next Avengers, where it's all kids and it's the Age of Ultron, and there was a Black Panther type that had these kind of like tattoos and he would like shoot lightning bolts. That is the same character as the boy.
Well, the animated one is the child of Storm and T'Challa.
Exactly.
Where here is Nakia and T'Challa. But it was just very touching. It was just heartfelt because it was just telling us, the audience, that through another.
Which
to her
still works because there are storylines where T'Challa is a central point in the storyline. So technically, through storylines, whatever,
but it also
Quantumania, whatever.
Right, but it also goes with the line where the king is dead, long live the king. Where I also like too, where he's like all giddy, like laughing, and then he's like, "Can you keep a secret?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he changes and says his lines, tells her who he truly is. Like he knows his importance. He knows the responsibility that he holds. And I was like, whoa. And then he goes back to a kid again. It's like, I was like, holy crap. I was like, damn, that's good. And
so based on that by the time you had that end credits in that scene, how was your theater experience? Like, how did they leave? Because I know you and I would have been hyped, but like, how did they respond in the theater for you?
It was good. They applauded and oohed and awed. Well, granted, me and Efren, we did a little bit more. Like certain hits were like, or actually I was. But when like Killmonger showed up, they were like, what? I'll just say this. While we're in the concession stand, because I didn't have it, but I bought the
tin,
the Black Panther tin. It was so cool. I just had to get it. In the line, like this is how important this movie is for a lot of people. It's very important for a lot of people. I saw a woman, elderly, wearing African garb, carrying a walking stick. She was blind, legally blind. I'm going to say legally blind because I don't know if she, her.
Yeah, I mean,
how serious it is.
Legally blind, it just means that she can't do certain things. So she could still probably see to a certain extent, but she was
right. She can see. She can see shapes. But the thing is, that touched me a lot. That touched me really deep because even though she can't see the details of what's going on the screen, she still can find a way to experience it. Granted, she may need someone to help her in the sense of exactly what the detail is going on, but to see that, it just really moved me. And yeah, it was great to see that because it in the black community, I know the black when Black Panther came out, you know, they have representation. We had representation in this movie with Namor. You know, granted, he may have been evil or the villain in this story. There is anger recognized in there. There is frustration. I would say great to see, or I don't know, if it was great to see or not, but it was again the black community can recognize certain things. The Latin community, Hispanic community can see similarities here. They dealt with racism here. They talked about racism
Yep.
in here
Slavery.
through Namor's eyes, through
Mm-hmm.
a Latin character's eyes. That's why I really appreciate this movie. I guess this is why I liked it so much because it represented you and I in multiple facets as well. It represented the black community in multiple facets. And it showed that as a people or as people, we have a lot to give. We have a lot to offer. We have a lot to learn from each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I know we've been talking a whole lot. There's going to be a bitch to edit.
I would
So,
say this, like, just to put out this, as far as my movie experience goes, and I went the day before premiere, and it was still
same here.
packed, and it was almost sold out. Like, you could tell there was like a few seats open, like in the front rows, the ones that no one wants, but it was like filled more than it should have been on a day before the premiere. In the middle of the day, arguably, like I went at 5:45, and it was just packed. I can only imagine how it's going to do this weekend with that type of turnout.
Yeah,
but
it's going to kill.
I could say this, for as filled as the theater is, I could hear, yeah, there was that one parent that brought in a literal child. Like, I hear mama kind of in there, but that even that child shut up at times. Like, when he got like really depressing, really sad, you could hear whimpers in my theater, people just sobbing, and I got emotional at scenes. The scenes where the kid is going like mama are those sad scenes, so like you could tell that even the kid was like sad. And then that final mid-credit scene came in, like the theater turned on the lights before the mid-credit scene even came in. They're like, they was like trying to kick us out, and we did, and no one left. Everybody was sitting there just waiting, and by the time that mid-credit scene was done, it was just dead silence. I don't want to say it was dead silence like people were disappointed or anything. It's just like, it was like just like the
Shock.
weight of that, those moments and those things are like people are still processing. And like I was like one of the first people to get up because I knew there was only a mid credit scene, and but like I could like you could hear me get up.
All right. Overall thoughts: is this worth the watch? Most indubitably.
He went that way. Most indubitably. I agree. It's worth the watch.
Okay. Now, based on the Rotten Tomato review score,
84?
the professional credits, the professional critics gave it an 84%. The audience gave it 94%. Where do you personally lean towards?
I would lean towards the audience.
I agree. And I also lean, now granted, Black Panther the original one has a higher review rate because multiple people saw it and then time went by. In the original, I go towards the audience again because the professional critics again gave a 96%, where the audience gave a 79%. And I again fall with them on that. Now to go to another film that came out somewhat recently, the audience gave Black Adam like a 90% rating. Now I think it's 89, where the professionals gave it a 40%. I go towards the professional in this one with the 40%. Okay, so which one do you go with? The audience or the professionals?
For Wakanda Forever, audience.
Yes. Okay, good. Do you think this is worth the own?
Yes.
Yes. I
could only imagine the special features and the documentaries.
Oh my God.
And if they have those cut scenes, they got to be fire.
Here we go for the cutscenes. So before I keep freaking doing this, there is one thing I wish they did have. I wish on her saying goodbye to T'Challa, when she's burning her mourning clothes, I do wish they showed a flashback to a deleted scene that we none of us ever saw from the original.
I don't know if there is a deleted scene with her and
Oh, they have to be from the original Black Panther. There's got to be a deleted scene there. Was just him and her, like having their private moment that we didn't see, but they had. Just for a flashback, just to see another moment, because everything the flashback they had was that we already saw.
yeah,
And touching too, because again, it just started deep. To go back to the opening credit, that everything, the letters uh, of showing, or the letters of Marvel Studios showing up, and we see T'Challa.
yeah, and they didn't even do the sound effect noise or anything
Nothing.
like
It was
that.
just quiet.
It was just complete silence when they did the
That
T'Challa
was
stuff.
just to see that was just heartbreaking. It was just damn what could have been.
Hmm. And all the actors, for the most part, stole the show. Like they did justice to their roles.
Right?
M'Baku, Shuri, the Queen, Ross, Val, they all brought something to the table for this project.
Yes, they stepped it up. All right, guys, that'll be it for our marvelous review of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Let us know what you thought. What was your favorite moment? Until next time, will be the next time. I am Angel.
I'm Adan.
Love you, bro.
Love you, bro.